Real hip-hop jams, inside or out? Let's talk about it.
Welcome to Hip Hop History with the Hip Hop Doc. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, check him out on Facebook and Instagram. His new book, Son of the Ghetto, can be purchased on Amazon right now. Like, share, and hit that notification bell for more videos. Thank you for watching. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
To answer that question, we have to go back to the killing of Black Benji of the Ghetto Brothers. On December 2nd, Black Benji and a group of Ghetto Brothers ventured to Horseshoe Park on East 165th Street and Rogers Place. Word had gotten out that several gangs, including the Mongols, the Seven Immortals, and the Black Spades, were jumping kids on the Ghetto Brothers' turf before heading to the park right by Dwyer Junior High to rumble with the Savage Skulls. As detailed in the 1973 film Ain't Gonna Eat My Mind, when Black Benji arrived, he told the beefing gang members that he was only there to talk peace. They were not interested, surrounding him and the Ghetto Brothers. "Peace nothing," one of the gang members told him before taking out a lead pipe. Another member pulled out a machete, sensing the impending fight. A Ghetto Brother named Playboy took his belt out and swung. Black Benji told his brothers to flee, but as they ran, the gang member with the lead pipe hit him and other gang members, then beat, cut, and stomped him to death. After Black Benji's killing, "I knew we were going to war," Padilla, the former First Lady of the Savage Skulls, told the city. Indeed, the Ghetto Brothers started to assemble an armory and captured 5 members of the Mongols and the Seven Immortals, including a member named Julio, who they viciously beat on the belief that he was one of their friend's killers. But that was before the gang leaders visited Gwendolyn Benjamin, Black Benji's mother, who told them, "I don't want war, I want peace. My son died for peace," Padilla recalled. So Yellow Benji and Karate Charlie reached out to Felipe Blackie Mercado, president of the Savage Skulls, one of the Bronx's biggest gangs. After lining up his support, they got the leaders and the warlords of 40 gangs to meet in neutral territory at the Hoe Ave Boys Club of America. Cops and reporters waited outside as more than 150 gang members, almost all of them Black or Puerto Rican, gathered to discuss Black Benji's killing and a plan for peace. The only 2 women in the building were the leaders of 2 all-female gangs who sat in the back row. At the end of the meeting, gang leaders shook hands in the middle of the boys' club gymnasium, Padilla recalled, and every member in attendance signed the Hoe Avenue Peace Treaty. Because of this peace treaty, this is now bringing peace to the streets. At one time, gang members did not go into other gang members' territories, but now, because of what the Ghetto Brothers did, they were now freely allowed to just travel in different areas of the Bronx. The Ghetto Brothers were responsible for throwing block parties and quote-unquote jams to bring these gangs together in an effort to continue peace.
But it's over there by Southern Boulevard and Freeman Street, right? The first boys club used to right there before they moved it to 173rd Street, which is where they had that gang peace meeting in 1971. I was actually at that meeting as a member of the Royal Javins.
That's the 2 and 5 line, right?
That's the 2 and 5 line, right? To 174th Street. Then once the corner of 173rd Street and Hoe Avenue is the entrance of the boys club, which is where we had that meeting in 1971. It was on December 7th.
71 or 72?
71.
71. Because I heard a lot of 72 thrown out.
No. It was on 71. Because that year, I know that there was only 9 gang-related murders, and in 72, there were 54 gang-related murders. Okay? So, 1 a week. You know what I'm saying? So the numbers jumped. So that meeting did not produce peace. It just peace between the people that killed Black Benji. There were 3 gangs, the Black Spades, the Mongols, and the Seven Immortals, right? So I don't want to get too much into that because that's all that story is.
In December of 1971, Ghetto Brothers leader Vice President Cornell Benjamin, also known as Benji, was killed in the process of trying to facilitate a truce between the Black Spades and the Seven Immortals gangs prior to a pending rumble between the warring factions. The murder of a gang member seeking to create a peace treaty between the gangs gave cause for the remaining Ghetto Brothers to work harder to make a truce reality. The efforts to honor the memory of Benji were a critical factor in ending the all-out war between the gangs in the South Bronx, as the death of Benji was the signaling of a time of peace rather than a time to escalate the violence in retaliation. However, the violence between gangs would not immediately subside despite the efforts of the Ghetto Brothers. Several gang members from warring factions, city government, and community organizations. The violence would continue to escalate before a truce was finally a consensus amongst the non-white gangs. A notable phenomenon that occurred with the gangs of the South Bronx during this period of resurgence was the gang activity to remove drug dealers from the communities that were claimed by the gangs. Acts of vigilantism by the gangs against the dope dealers in the Bronx became a new agenda of the gangs, as efforts to diminish inter-gang warfare increased. By 1973, the gang warfare was still a major factor, but a shift towards efforts of peace became more commonplace, even in the midst of persistent violence. 1973 would prove to be the year of transition from the outlaw gang culture to a new culture called hip-hop. Despite the fact that the slow process of implementing a gang truce had not quelled the violence in the Bronx, the seeds for the decline in gang warfare had been planted in the tragic death of Benji and the burgeoning efforts of various segments of the community to diminish the violence. In 1972, New York City police said many of the new gang wars were between Negro Spanish gangs and the whites, as new gangs began to form in white communities in the North Bronx. Although the new resurgence of gang war included a racial element between white and non-white groups, the warfare between the black and Latino gangs was still prevalent at the beginning of the 1970s.
Your immediate place.
Because we couldn't afford no damn equipment.
Herc was
exactly
known,
that. We couldn't
Herc was known everywhere, all around the city, all the B-boys.
No.
All the B-boys used to come to see Herc.
No, hold up.
That was
No. Yeah, later. Hold up. Herc wasn't known all around nothing because it was gangs everywhere and you would get your equipment shot up.
Shoot, he always used to come and try to get down with us because he was scared somebody was going to rip off his equipment. So he had to get with somebody that had power. Right. They had no damn power back there. Shit, I remember they robbed a lot of people and took their set.
And you would get your equipment shot up.
And he couldn't come to the shrimp box.
You had to stay where you
come to the shrimp box.
Hear me out.
He couldn't come to the lollipop.
The Hevelo, the Blue Lagoon.
He was in the Hevelo in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, and all that. Right. Listen.
He was at nightclubs.
Yeah, listen to this. Yeah, he was. Listen. We don't want to take nothing away from Herc. He was special. And Coke LaRock. Yes, they was. They was.
Okay. You can't say you were the first. That's all.
Whenever I wasn't playing, I'd go see Herc, or I'd go see Bam, or I'd go see Breakout. Me and Breakout never played together. I think that Bam and Herc played together, but I never played with Herc. Me and Bam played together, but this thing didn't become a battle thing until the next tier came. Because now people is battling for their existence. The four of us was already kings in our own right. We were established, so all the crews that became the understudies or became prodigies, now they're battling for this. And that's when a lot of people were going into different territories. But with the first four, the problem why we didn't play with each other a whole lot is because the gang violence was nuts. You go into a wrong area, you might not make it out of there. So, and I'm talking about the Black Spades, the Black Pearls, Savage Skulls, Seven Immortal.
This is pre-Zulu Nation, because that's what Bam helped alleviate.
Right, now we're going to go into Bam.
Right.
So, Bam.
You know, Echo Park, Arthur Park.
Right.
You know, we were traveling around.
never ventured over to Soundview. That wasn't out.
Or Bronx River.
Yeah, never nowhere over there. Everybody, that was off limits to West Side. If you don't know nobody over there, we didn't really
go over there. You know? So how did you end up again at the Zulu Nation party?
Well, that was Tracy Towers. So
Bam was doing
yeah, that's right here. That was on our side. So he was doing a party in Tracy Towers, and we made the mistake of going. And,
I thought Zulu Nation was supposed to be peaceful.
Nah, they ain't not peaceful. Them and the Gestapo, they get in there and they start chanting that Zulu Gestapo stuff. And then when they leave up out there, they robbing everything. They robbing. Don't worry about it. It's okay, sweetie. They robbing everything and everybody that they don't know that's not from around Zulu or whatever. And that's exactly what happened.
Was that your only Zulu Nation party?
Yes. Well, I went to another one on Arthur Park, but I didn't know it was Bambaataa.
And where's that, on East Tremont?
That's on Tremont, right up the street from Frank's. Right up the street. But I didn't know it was because back in the days, like somebody would come to the neighborhood and be like, yo, they jamming in Arthur Park.
Right,
They jamming in Cedar Park. That was how the word got around.
Right, before the cell phones and pages.
So you had to make your way over to wherever they was jamming at.
So
we just got the word that they was jamming in Arthur Park. And when we got there, it was Bambaataa. And we knew we wasn't staying. Because literally, like, the whole Bronx River came into Arthur Park. They was all on the mountains and all that, and we looked at each other like, yo, it's time to go. Before they go get crazy up in here.
Right.
And we left. We stayed a little while. You didn't talk to none of the girls over there because you couldn't go visit them, because if you went over there, them dudes was going to jump you.
And it's in the mid-70s or late 70s?
This is the mid-70s, 77, 78.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
I thought it was all peace, man, with the Zulus.
Nah.
What was your first instance with the gangs in the Bronx, like the Black Spades, the Bachelors?
Into equipment, but more importantly, Herc and those guys, if they came into our section of the Bronx, had to get permission.
They definitely had to get permission. Because there was one time when Herc and all them couldn't come on that side unless you talk to Bam Mario on that side, because we had a large control in that area and stuff. Or you get beat down, or you might lose your whole system.
Childhood friend!
But look.
Babies!
Right.
This ain't nobody just came along with it. Hip-hop culture was right up.
Nah.
Babies, homie.
Right.
We born and raised Bronxton.
Right.
That's right.
We're gonna close with this. We're gonna close with this. Hip-hop, Grandmaster Flash, Coke Crush Brothers, Grand Wizard Theodore, Kool Herc, Coke LaRock. We salute you. But at the time, in the early very 70s, we was fighting for supremacy before y'all was in existence, and it was me. And we had karate skills. We had to come to conquer areas all over the Bronx.
Right.
And then when we came with the music, we come out for enjoyment because my mother was the head of the
your immediate place.
Because we couldn't afford no damn equipment.
But Herc was known.
We couldn't
Herc was known everywhere, all around the city. All the B-boys.
No.
All the B-boys used to come to see Herc.
No. Hold up.
That was
No. Yeah, later. Hold up. Herc wasn't known all around nothing because it was gangs everywhere, and you would get your equipment shot up.
Shoot, he always used to come and try to get down with us because he was scared somebody was gonna rip off his equipment. So he had to get with somebody that had power. Right. They had no damn power back there. Shit, I remember they robbed a lot of people and took their set.
And you would get your equipment shot up.
And he couldn't come to the shrimp box.
You had to stay where you
come to the shrimp box.
Hear me out.
You couldn't come to the lollipop.
The Hevalo, the Blue Lagoon.
He was in the Hevalo in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, and all that. Right. Listen.
He was at nightclubs.
Yeah, listen to this. Yeah, he was. Listen. We don't want to take nothing away from Herc. He was special. And Coke LaRock. Yes, they was.
Okay. You can't say you were the first. That's all.
Joined them. Back then, the initiation for the gang that I was going to get into, the Galaxies, was 10 whacks with a garrison belt, Army garrison belt, and 10 people would take one shot each at your ass with your pants down. But in my case, I didn't have to do that because the night before the initiation, I went out to a school dance with K161. And we had to take the girls to 125th Street where they lived in the projects. and we got approached by some gangsters called the Black Spades. And even though we didn't have jackets, they still wanted to beat on us. And one of them grabbed an antenna and swiped it across my face. So the next day, when I went for my initiation, I had to get walked into the clubhouse because my face, my eyeballs were too swollen and I couldn't see. So my friends that walked me into the clubhouse to get my initiation, after they seen me, the president of the gang said, oh, no, it's okay. Henry doesn't need to be initiated. He got his initiation last night.
Just like we'll never know.
So because we had that huge following, Grandmaster Flash's manager, Ray Chandler, asked us to come together and form an alliance to be able to bring our people from uptown to be able to party with Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five downtown. Bambaataa was located in Bronx River. Nobody would go into Bronx River. You couldn't go into Bronx River unless you had a pass. Bambaataa asked DJ Breakout and DJ Baron to form an alliance to bring our people from uptown into Bronx River to the crowds and form an alliance there. Same thing with Who Hurt. Who Hurt was on the way.
Make no mistake, I was born on the block where everything was revolved around. I was born on Grove Street in Southern Brooklyn. Okay, back then it was just Italians, it was whites. I didn't see any black, I didn't see any Hispanic. As a matter of fact, I was one of the first Hispanics on that block. Okay, and then we moved over to Beaumont Avenue, which was deeper into the hood at that time. And I went through a lot of racist shit like that because a lot of people grew up, I wasn't white, but looked good. Okay, I used to have a lot of fights. So
it was a rough community. I also grew up there. I grew up on Arthur Avenue, 188. And for me to go to Beaumont and for me to go to Potomac, I had to get into fights, just to get to that side. And we're talking maybe, 6 blocks, 188 to 183rd, right? 5 blocks, and it was really that bad. 187th Street and Arthur Avenue was a part of the Italians. They had the Arabian ladies there, and Arthur Boys was another gang there, and they just didn't want no blacks and Puerto Ricans. So we were really surrounded.
Birth of 1979.
Hi, this is Lucky Strike from the Universal Zulu Nation, chilling here at the B-Boy Masters Pro-Am, 7th Avenue. Well, the Zulu Nation is one of the first hip-hop organization in existence on the planet. Started back in 1973 with a lot of the legendary groups and DJs, B-boys, and graph artists. Back in the early 70s, I was part of I would call it like an organization as well, but some of the organizations back then didn't have too much knowledge. And what happened was there was a lot of races going on in the early 70s with the drugs and everything. So there was a lot of groups around that time that was divided. And one of the groups that I was involved with was the Savage Calls. And, I was involved with them for a little bit. And then BAM was the Black Spade. That was way before the Zulu Nation was in existence. And as we go along, a couple of years later, we got involved with with BAM's organization, the Zulu Nation. It kind of really changed like my whole life around, because I would say my mind was in a different direction, because it was happening in the South Bronx, with different groups. You had to be Latino to be down with one group, or you had to be black to be down with the other group. So it kind of, through the BAM's teachings and everything, kind of open up people's minds. That's why it's very important. A lot of people think that hip-hop only has 4 elements, but in originality, it has 5, because without the 5th element, which is knowledge, there wouldn't be any other element. Without you knowing anything, you wouldn't be part of no other element. I visited a couple of Herc's parties, and you had some kids that were dancing. They weren't actually like b-boys, because b-boy, you gotta have that flair, that style, But there was dancers there, and I would say to like later mid 70s when, you know, you had that b-boy flavor, you know, the dressing, that flair, the fashion, you know, and it's just like the way you act. It was just like a different thing, you know, just like now you got b-boys out here, but they're just missing, it's something that's missing. Now, I mean, I ain't gonna mention no names, but you know, they concentrate too much on the power, and they forget the foundation of it. Floor moves, you know. You don't just go into your power. You know, you gotta show them some footwork, show them some finesse, you know, and then you could go and mix in the other stuff into and incorporate it in it, you know. If you don't incorporate it in it, then it's not, there's no foundation in there, you know, then it doesn't look that good.
About the race wars was real. Us Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Hispanics were dying out there getting beat down and weren't getting along with blacks. Charlie Chase was responsible for bringing the blacks and Latinos together as one. And us being respected in the hip-hop.
Sir Norin Rad, Willie Will, legendary Puerto Rican b-boy from Rockwell Association, told me about how we was introduced to that original black b-boy style of dancing which you referred to as the go-off in 1976 by a b-boy called Chopper that was down with the Zulu Nation. What was the relationship between TBB and the Zulu Nation? Was there any kind of contact at all? ABY, again, I was younger. I was too young to even understand the difference between black and Puerto Rican. But to my brothers, to the older guys, there was a barrier, there was a line between blacks and Latinos. I mean, look at the gangs back then, the Black Spades were all black and then you had the Ghetto Brothers which were all Latinos, so there was a division at first. I remember the Zulu Kings only from late 1976/1977, that's when we really got involved. That's also when Batch had his meeting with the Zulu Nation, 1977. TBB and members of the Zulu Nation, they used to have rumbles, they would fight against each other. Whatever jam they went to they would rumble. If there was a jam and TBB was chilling there and all of a sudden someone threw hands, Batch would summon TBB Joe's division, who was known as the Warlord Division, meaning they handled all the rumbles or one-on-one fight, make sure no one jumped in. One of the first black DJs that I ever met was Lay. He was from Fun PM City Crew and they was all black, but they was cool cause they were from the block. We never had problems in 129 Mapes Pool. Lay would get cutting and we would start dancing. Back then we danced more with the girls than against each other. But when we heard It's Just Begun, or Babe Ruth, Mexican, or Bongo Rock, forget about it. Floor rockers hit the floor. Cypher set and battles was for respect, not money. You had to be there to truly understand and smell the air and feel the excitement when the cat you was battling burned you the last time and you been practicing all week long for the moment you let it all out on the concrete. Damn, miss them days.
The dude back when he spoke with about when you met and we had a meeting with Bambaataa.
With Bambaataa.
To unite instead of you know to stop the violence and all that shit.
Exactly.
So this Batch, Africa Bambaataa invited Batch to their main chapter.
Yeah.
Was in
Bronx River.
Batch went over there. They had a meeting, and you know, because before it was fighting. Zulu Kings, PBBs, it's a lot of fight, especially in 129.
You gotta remember.
After the jam, niggas is like, yo, bottles of beers, sticks, whatever, you know. I mean, so it's just stopped. After that meeting,
it stopped.
It stopped.
You see, you gotta remember, at that early stage of what we considered the foundation that laid the grounds,
we still lived in that environment that had that essence involved. You understand? But the more the opportunity of these street jams to happen that allowed us to express ourselves, then it started stopping because it tapped into the youth. And the grown-ups back then, they wanted to make sure that the youth didn't continue that negativity. So it took something like TBB and Zulu Kings to come together.
Because they went to those parties watching them, so they started to form the Zulu King B-Boys with Charlie Rock and them. After them came the Puerto Ricans. The Puerto Ricans started watching the Little Zulu Kings. That's Beaver and them. Beaver's the president of Little Zulu Kings. He started in 77, 78, and he started when everybody else retired. B-Boys was played out. The breaking was played out in 77. From 71 to 77, it was being done that whole time. And then originals, they thought it was played out. They went over to something else, like doing the hustle, Electric Boogie. They moved on to something else. But when the Puerto Ricans found it, they found it when it was already played out. Nobody was doing it anymore except the baby blacks, the baby Little Zulu Kings. That's who inspired them. And that's how you get your Rock Steadies and your Bronx Boys and your Rockwell Association. All these guys, they came later after the Little Zulu Kings. Charlie Chase, all the first Latin DJs and the first Latin rappers, they came late. They came 77, 78. They all came later. And they all each have a story.
Like whipping those guys, right? Like whipping those guys.
And they tell you, Prince Whip, Charlie Chase, Tito, Disco Wiz, they all tell you it was racism. Puerto Ricans used to get at them like, why you hanging with the Morenos? Why you trying to act like and dress like the Morenos? Why you talking like them? Because they spoke a lot of Spanish back then. Mira this. Then with the blacks is like, yo, why is he here? Why Jose is here? Why he not playing with a salsa band or something? Why he not doing merengue? They said, nah, he cool. He with us. He learning. That's how that went. That's the part they're not telling you. Those are the details. Hip hop didn't have a name and it existed for like 5 to 7 years before a Latino got into it. After them came the whites with Disco Fever. The owner of the Disco Fever was the first